But welcome back to the 22 Panels annual baseball and comics podcast, where we're joined again by Derek Gold, Mark Chiarello, Rob Nyer, and Heidi McDonald. I don't think any of us had teams that went anywhere this
Yeah.
year.
Uh,
Um, Hassan Atzman El How, who was not able to join us because it's midnight in London right now, did want me to give a quick Rangers woo woo, because that's his
I
team.
I don't understand this pocket of comics Rangers fans because Corey McCreary, who is a writer for the Beat, is also a Rangers fan, and it just doesn't make any sense. She lives
Um,
in Canada.
with Hassan, I know what it is he was into football first, but not like heavily. And the team that he was into was the Cowboys because that was the team that the people who got him into football were into. But then he got into baseball and he started with the Rangers just because they were local to the Cowboys. He really listens to like all the teams because he just does it on the back in the background while he's lettering via MLB.TV. Um, but yeah, yeah.
Well, congrats to Hassan and
Yep,
Corey.
yep. I gave him my congrats when I was inviting him. He also just
Yeah.
put out a fantastic graphic novel. Is it Felix and Macabre? I wasn't realizing that I was going to be plugging Hassan, so something like that. Go look it up. It's with Junie Ba. It's good stuff. Um, so how did everybody enjoy their baseball year? Rob's raising his hand.
Yeah, I'll start. I would have enjoyed it a little more if the Mariners had won one more game the last weekend of the season. And by the way, speaking of the Rangers, this is how uh this is how capricious baseball can be. The team that won the World Series would have missed the playoffs completely if they had lost one game. I believe it was the last, Derek might remember, either the last Friday or Saturday of the regular season.
Right.
They won. If they had lost that game, they probably would have been swept four straight by the Mariners. And it would have been the Mariners
Right.
coming out of that weekend and not the Rangers going into the playoffs. And everything is completely different, at least on the American League side. So
Right.
um, they
Well,
just squeaked in. And you could certainly argue that, well, I would argue that as put upon as Rangers fans have arguably been, they've gotten a lot farther than the Mariners have over the last 30, 40 years. And if anybody's due at this point, it would be the Mariners. And
yeah.
I pull for them because of that, and also because living in the Northwest, I know a lot of Mariners fans. Um, as far as the season, the action clock was a massive success,
Yes.
and maybe the single greatest thing that's happened to baseball since 19.
I will add to it the bases and the pickoff throw rule because I love more base running. I love more base running.
Well, I would agree that was good too, but I think the
The clock was a
I
bigger
think the
deal.
average
Definitely.
game saw I think the
Definitely.
average was something like zero point 0.4 more steal attempts per game. So
Right.
unless you knew what was happening and were paying attention to the stolen base leaders, it would be hard to even notice
But
that
it
there were
seems like
more
the stolen
steals.
base leaders all had a lot more stolen
Oh, they
bases.
did. That's what I mean. If you were paying attention to that, then
Right.
the numbers, but just in terms of your game to game experience, you have to
Well, and I
really pay
also
close attention.
wonder, do you know numbers on how much it affected first to third? I just feel like I
I don't.
saw a lot more running this year.
Maybe. I don't know I don't know that. Um,
And and
certainly there
I like that.
one would assume that base runners were more aggressive generally. To what extent that was true beyond the steal numbers, I have no idea.
They were, there was more aggression when it came to taking that lead that would lead to going first to third
Mm-hmm.
because of the disengagements. That was a
Right.
part of it. But also, I think a little bit of it is maybe I think I'll use this phrase right. The tail wagging the dog is you have more athleticism than ever in the game.
Right.
And so now you have rules that are more reflective of the athleticism that was already there. And so you're getting that base running aspect now. The athleticism just itching to take advantage of it.
Right.
And now away it went.
That was certainly the hope. I think that some of the results were maybe not as significant as baseball had hoped, but they also had to be realistic and know this was an experiment and they would have to keep tinkering. I think, Derek, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about. Sorry to take over the podcast, Dad. Derek, I'd love for you to talk about the future, as in, is there what sense do you have that MLB is just going to keep this process moving year in, year out?
Yeah, I think they're emboldened by what happened. Excuse my voice a little bit, but I think one of the big concerns going in to this year was the possibility for unintended consequences, and it's something that Tony Clark and the union specifically have talked about, and not just this year. They've been really consistent about this. Is the notion of you need to introduce one rule at a time, so that if something goes wrong, you can reverse engineer why it went wrong. If you introduce 3 or 4 big changes at a time and something goes wrong, then you don't know which one of them was at fault, or was it the concert
of it. You don't want to introduce running counterclockwise the same year
right.
the fence is in.
Correct.
And push the mound back.
Correct. Yeah, and outlaw and outlaw curveballs. You don't want to do all those things at once. And then when things go haywire, say, "Well, I really think it's the shift's fault." Like you don't want to do that. And so the union was like, let's maybe be a little bit more targeted with these changes, do one at a time, and not do them all at once. And Major League Baseball wanted significant, substantial changes. And so I think the results, the fact that they got such encouraging results, the style of game was what they wanted. I think it emboldened them to make moves as a group, especially if they have these massive amount of studies at the lower level. It's really was it was really a proof of concept for Manfred in a lot of ways. 3 of them stand out. One, that you experiment at the minor league level and you can learn from that in mass. You can learn from that in mass. 2, you can make multiple changes at once and have those be beneficial and still understand if there's unintended consequences of them. And 3, soft diplomacy is so valuable. Manfred's build up, and Rob knows this, and a lot of folks do, I hope, is this was not an overnight change for Rob Manfred. This is something that he began seeding the clouds for when he became commissioner. And the backdrop of all these things that he's been doing, right, really kind of proved that like soft diplomacy is super valuable. And I hope for it to kind of spread into the labor side of it. I was
about to say, now if only he could learn that for labor relations.
Yes. Well, and I think if you look at how the rules were coming about, and some of the things that were happening there, Theo Epstein coming in, Chris Young, who's now the general manager of the aforementioned Texas Rangers, being involved in the commissioner's office. I think if you look for those trends that then led to these changes and the all sides embracing them, I think you look to Rob hiring Jimmy Rollins and Ryan Howard and CC Sabathia and Albert Pujols and outfitting the commissioner's office with really recently retired and influential players being sort of this next evolution of it. So it goes not just from rules, but also management of the game and maybe even labor relations. We'll see. But I think those are my 3 takeaways of it. That as far as the future, Rob, I think the commissioner's office is, to put it in, it's full power,
comic
right?
book terms.
Yeah, I was thinking about it in comic book terms. It's the lantern is at full power. And, it's in darkest day, blackest night. Rob Redford has the green willpower, fully charged. Did I nail it there?
I'll give you one quick example because I have a little tiny bit of inside information.
Heidi was raising her hand, so make it quick.
Okay. Baseball is, I think, truly committed to trying to create incentives for teams to keep their starting pitchers in the games longer.
Yeah.
which is a truly fan friendly thing. It's not about revenues. It's not about cutting players' salaries or whatever. That would actually result in more players making more money because the pitchers would be bigger stars.
Ooh.
But they're all
Oh,
for it.
well, I'm sorry, Heidi. One quick thing about that is teams still want to suppress the risk of starting pitching. And
Mhm.
so there is like a push and pull
Right.
there.
Yep.
Agents, Scott Boras, and they'll talk about that. That
Six-man rotations, man.
well,
I like six-man
increasingly,
rotations.
if they can reduce the number of innings expected from a starter, they can then reduce the salaries, not by reducing like the AAV, the annual,
Right.
but by reducing the amount of guaranteed money because it's so volatile.
Right.
It's a subtle thing that the market is imposing on the game
Yep.
that people want to push back against.
All right, Heidi.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that I agree that the changes were very beneficial, and I mean the shorter games was. I mean, I basically like to watch baseball or listen to baseball because as a Mets fan, we have the best announcers in the game, Gary, Keith, and Ron. So I got almost an hour less of Gary, Keith, and Ron each game, and that was a little sad, but still, the shorter games was definitely an improvement. Just in lifestyle and commitment and so on, and it didn't hurt the game. Now I'd be along with these subtle changes, I'm sure that the robo up, automatic balls and strikes, which has been tested, I believe, in the minor leagues this year. So that's the next big seismic change. But along with what Derek and Rob were saying, that won't be rolled out for a little bit, because that is another big, huge change. And I would love to hear what everybody thinks the effect of that will be based on the minor league testing.
Really quick though, we should have Rob make the comment that he wrote in the
yes,
because
yes,
it's a good one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that I thought maybe I was the only one, but I'll bet there are a lot of fans out there like us who missed hearing some of our favorite people talking more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead and give
John
the
Miller
John
was
Miller
done
shout-out.
every night by 9:30 when it used to be 10:15, and I missed those late nights with John Miller. That was my literally only thing that I miss about the longer games.
Yeah, that's it. We enjoy listening to our favorite announcers.
Yep.
But that said, the rules change, I think, did have a huge effect on older pitchers. And I think that had a big effect on the Mets since we had this geriatric staff. And, just going back to Tad's original question about how was the year in baseball, if you were a Mets fan, it was a really, really unbelievable year. Like, started out with us losing Jacob deGrom to the Texas Rangers, and then deGrom coming out and making this ridiculous statement that he wanted to go to the Rangers because they had a winning culture. And of course, this is right after the Mets had one of their best years ever, winning over 100 games, and flamed out in the playoffs because deGrom couldn't, was all burnt out at the end, with his elbow hanging on by a thread. And we had a good laugh at that. And that was bittersweet. I love Jacob deGrom, and he's just one of the most phenomenal players you could ever watch over the last decade.
When he's healthy.
When he's on those rare occasions when he's healthy. And so him going to the Rangers was it's like your ex. It really is your ex, and how you are going to follow them, and whether you're just, I don't even know what the movie is. I'm sure it's some Barbra Streisand movie from the 70s where The Way We Were. It's a good example where you just have to have an open heart about what happens. But then the season began and the Mets just stank. They stank. And my other favorite, Max Scherzer. He was like that fast pitch clock. I don't think it did a 38-year-old any favors, and he had all these issues. And Verlander, I'm not such a fan of, so I didn't care. He pitched pretty well, but honestly, I didn't care. And I think Tommy Pham just spoke the truth. That guy has no filter, and he just said with the Mets there was they just were complacent. They were overpaid and they didn't have a winning culture. So shockingly got to see Scherzer and DeGrom win a World Series with the Rangers, which is no one could
I
have
mean,
predicted
DeGrom
that.
didn't
No,
really
he didn't. He
win a
didn't, but
World
he did
Series.
pitch. I mean, he's
They
going to
did
get a
spend a lot
ring.
of time in the last month talking about how much he did hanging around the team and
Yes.
how helpful that was, which seems like things that are only said about people making a lot of money and not
Yes.
playing.
Well, he did. He won. The Rangers didn't lose a game that he pitched in,
That's true.
in the brief period before he flamed out with, needing a second Tommy John. And, let's be realistic. That's it. That's probably, it would really take the greatest comeback ever, medical
There have been
comeback,
some impressive comebacks from second Tommy Johns at this point.
Yeah, but at his age and given his, frailty, I mean,
I'm just trying to be hopeful for the guy.
Yeah. Well, I think he got to finish the story. I think
Yeah.
DeGrom got to finish the story. I think he got to be on a team that won the World Series, and he didn't get to pitch again in the World Series, but he got to do that for the Mets when he was a young whippersnapper. So, he got to run out in the field and get dosed with champagne and those things that come with it. And so, we'll see. I mean, I certainly don't want to root against him. I don't want to be.
He made 6 whole starts this year.
Yes, he made 6 whole starts before his elbow just came up, broke.
I mean, impressive.
Exploded.
13.35 Ks per 9 versus 1.19 walks. Not quite as good as last year.
I mean, that's the thing. The guy is so skinny, and if you look at Verlander, I mean, he's built. I mean, like I said, Verlander's just not one of my favorite players, but he is built like the old classic pitchers.
Yeah.
He is a sturdy man, and he continues to pitch quite well at age 40. Whereas DeGrom is not sturdy; he's a little will-o'-the-wisp. And there you go. So that was it. It was a lousy, sad, heartbreaking. It was a heartbreaking season, not only for what the Mets didn't do, but what for other people did. And that's pretty hard to take. So, yeah.
How about you, Mark?
Well, as a former Yankee fan, you guys all did better than we did. Talking about the new rules, which I'm amazed that there are a couple, like the pitch clock, I think is great. And I'm just surprised because I'm still hurting from the Bud Selig years, the steroids and, God, you can go in the whole list of stuff. I wonder if a couple changes here and there, 2 a year are gonna bring back a lot of fans. I mean,
I hope so.
I've become a complete. I mean, I was always like, I'm sure all of you guys are. I'm a real big baseball nostalgist, but I also watch modern baseball. Now I think I'm zero modern and all 100% looking back, and that's kind of that's a shame. I think cosmically that's a shame because you want to, Heidi talks about listening to the radio, baseball game on the radio. There was nothing better, although, the Yankees announcers have been shit for 25 years. I wish we, I'm waiting for Rizzuto.
Southern California, you didn't go enjoy Ohtani?
No, I don't know why. I stepped off of baseball for I think the last 2.5 years.
Well,
I think when I heard the official gambling site of the Cincinnati Reds, I was like, fucking done. Logos on uniforms. I still can't get over interleague play. That's not what I want.
Well, Mark, I will say that is a feature of Los Angeles baseball culture. Southern California baseball culture.
What's that? What
just that it fosters, it fosters a lack of fanaticism.
Well, yes and no, because hardcore Yankee fan, grew up in New Jersey my whole life, New York and New Jersey. And then I moved out here to Los Angeles 8 years ago. Mattingly was the manager of the Dodgers. I was like, oh my God. And I started going to games all the time. You had Yasiel Puig in right field. Dodgers had a great team. It was really fun, but I don't know. Maybe you can shed some light why I just don't care anymore.
I'm going to have to take you to a game sometime, Mark. I'll get you back into it.
All right.
I'll get you back into it.
Okay. That's a deal.
I mean, again,
and or since he's out there, we'll get Cantwell to take you to a game with his kids because watching his 10-year-old go nuts over Clayton Kershaw or whichever player did well yesterday. That's one of the things I love about kids. They're not good at looking at the stats yet. So whoever hit the home run yesterday is the best player ever.
Sure.
You know, I got to say the high point of my year, though, and this is why I can't understand anybody who lives in Southern California and doesn't get out to see Ohtani at least once. I got to see him up in Milwaukee when he hit the highest home run of the StatCast era. And when he hit it, I knew it was gone, even though what was going through my head was the major league. Oh no, too high. Can't up. Yep. No, it's over the fence. 198 feet up and 408 feet to center field. The man's insane. I think he's Superman in his spare time.
And I thought that and I would be wondering if anybody else had a sort of a favorite moment, but I thought the best moment of baseball in 2023 was the Ohtani Trout matchup in the World Baseball Classic. I just don't know that it can get much better than that anywhere on any level.
Yeah.
I got to be at that. I was at that game. It was incredible.
I'm a little jealous.
It was yeah. I mean, it happened to be in the backyard of spring training.
Right.
And Lars Nootbaar is an international sensation. So I got to go down.
Such a great name too.
Yeah.
you know,
Why doesn't he have his own candy bar yet?
He does.
He does. Okay, good.
He has a protein bar in Japan now.
Okay. I mean, it seems like required.
Yeah. So I got to go down.
I was just going to say I was coming home from. I didn't get to go to any of the Angels games at Citi Field, but I was coming home from another event in Queens, just by chance on the train when a lot of people were coming home on the same train from Citi Field and on the 7 train, and it was electric. It was electric on the subway. It was filled with Japanese fans, Japanese American fans, and they all had the ghost ball that they gave out that night. And also Senga had pitched. It would ended up being, Senga versus. Well, I don't think Ohtani was pitching, but at that point, because of course he also had his Tommy John issues. But and they were so excited. There was so much, just like I said, it was an electric vibe on the train of just fans who were so excited to have seen him, and he is absolutely
in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There were probably 15,000 Japanese or Japanese Americans at the game. And it was a sellout, which I think it's the only sellout I've been to in Milwaukee ever. I mean, I generally go on weeknights where the tickets are cheap, but yeah, I mean, to have Ohtani and Trout, and I forget who was pitching that night, but he actually struck them both out in the first inning, and it was like a nobody pitcher. And I'm sitting there going, he's going to tell his grandkids about that one day. In one of the 50 innings that I pitched in the major leagues, I struck out both Trout and Ohtani.
I mean, incredibly, baseball this past year had 2 of those moments. One of them at the World Baseball Classic, obviously, when Trout faced Ohtani. But then we can't forget at the All-Star game where it got to the hometown guy in Julio Rodriguez, which was also just a remarkable kind of moment. I think it was Kyle Seager, right, who said it was the most pressure-packed walk of his career because he liked that the crowd was waiting for the moment.
Yeah.
He was like, if I have the hit that wins the game, that's not all that cool. But if I can get the game to Julio Rodriguez, I mean, that it didn't obviously manifest, but what a cool moment that was too. And baseball gave us both of those in the same year.
Yeah. Rob's got his hand up.
Well, just to follow up on the Ohtani thing, I have argued at some point that baseball hasn't had a cultural superstar since Derek Jeter, if then. But I think Jeter is the last one who could make a claim that he was a well-known figure, not just in baseball and sports, but in the culture. That basically almost everyone had heard of Derek Jeter.
Yeah. I think I might go all the way back to Junior.
Well, yeah, I mean, but Junior, when Junior was playing, Barry Bonds was also famous, right? There were others.
I mean, McGuire. I mean, you can't. McGuire couldn't go anywhere in the world without being recognized because
and Sosa too, like in '98.
Yeah, Sosa too. Yeah,
that all sort of ended with Jeter was probably the last one for various reasons,
right.
For that we've seen in a while. I thought Ohtani had a chance to do that if he could have a huge postseason. As it turned out, I was wrong in the sense that he had another chance to do that by building up his profile, which he did in the World Baseball Classic at that moment, and then potentially winning the MVP award as a hitter, essentially, and the Cy Young award as a pitcher. I think if he had been able to do that or win the Triple Crown, that might have elevated him to that space where there's stories about him on NPR and he's on the cover of magazines to the degree that magazines still have covers and are sold. Unfortunately, he got hurt before he could do those things. But I think he actually had a shot at it, at transcending sport and becoming an American cultural superstar. Didn't happen, but it's closer than I thought it could have.
I don't think his story's done yet either, though.
Well, I think it's unlikely he'll ever have a season like he was having this year again, just because it's so far outside the boundaries. I'm not saying it's impossible. At this point, it would be stupid to put limits on what he can do.
Man.
But you mentioned two Tommy John surgeries. He's got a lot to come back from.
He does.
Being the old curmudgeon of the group here, is there any chance there's a Milli Vanilli moment here, and he ain't what he seems to be? I'm not saying he is, or what happens if it falls apart and it turns out to be, I don't know, a Japanese strain of steroids?
It feels unlikely.
But we said that when McGuire and Sosa were hitting those home runs.
I didn't.
Well, I didn't either. Also, but
I said it's not illegal yet. It probably should be, but it's not illegal. So of course they are.
Right.
And I also haven't judged them negatively because of that. I think that's something that people have been split on. I mean, I haven't judged them positively for it, but you know what I mean is, the steroid era is icky. That's the best way to put it.
I think it was also like steroids were so the thing in the 90s. I mean, obviously they are still around, but they're not, where Barry Bonds' face suddenly blows up like the moon.
But honestly, I can't believe it started in the 90s.
I looked for acne. Okay. Yeah. There was Henry Mejia was on the Mets, and I was like, wow, that guy's got really bad skin for someone in this era.
You should have seen his back.
But, exactly. And
the college steroids scandals were in the late 60s. The NFL steroid scandals were in the 70s and 80s. Do we really believe that baseball didn't understand steroids until Jose Canseco? I don't. I think baseball didn't understand that there was an advantage to bulking up rather than using steroids to bounce back, but that's actually what they normally get prescribed for. They get prescribed to bounce back. So if you're not using them to bulk up, you're using them to recover from yesterday's game.
I do think that Ohtani is just a physical specimen. I mean, he's just built different.
He also seems to have decided at a very young age that this is what he wanted to do and has been laser focused on it. I mean, I was blown away when I found out that when he went apartment hunting in Anaheim, he wanted the place that was closest to the ballpark. Didn't care about anything else. Closest to the ballpark.
I think one of the other things that actually worked in his favor this year was that this was the first year of everybody plays everybody, right? So we got to see Ohtani. Everybody got to see Ohtani and got to see just how incredible he is. And of course, in his free agency year. So it really worked out well for him. And your cat is adorable. So
most of the time, except when he decides that he's gonna like steal my microphone or knock things over, but yeah, he tries to. Eddie's a regular on the podcast. He tries.
I have a question for Derek.
Adorable.
Before you ask that question, there is a comic book connection to Shohei, right?
There is.
Yeah. Like you guys were talking about, Major, right?
Major is a manga in Japan where there's a guy who's a two-way star, and it's what inspired Otani that he wanted to also be a two-way star.
Yeah, not just inspired him, but like made him, like he committed to that notion.
Right.
Like this is what that character
I mean,
does.
he could have made so much more money than
do.
he already had. I mean, because he could have signed in the big league straight out of high school, except he would have had to choose to pitch or hit. The Nippon Ham Fighters said, stay in Japan for a few years and we'll let you do both. He could have waited 2 more years to come to the United States and been an unrestricted free agent. He said, I want to go early so that all of the teams are limited in what they can pay me. I can only make this much money. So I get to choose based on who's going to let me play the game that I want to play. That just doesn't strike me to be the guy that is likely. I mean, I think when you leave that much money on the table, it becomes less likely that there's something fishy going on.
So
could be wish casting.
The LA Times did an amazing story on that and traced like his inspiration to the character in Major.
Yeah.
It's a really good story.
So just as the manga inspired Otani to do something that it turns out, this is actually a possible thing, despite what everyone told John Olerud, etc.
Yeah.
Derek, do you think that at some point in the next, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, we will see another major leaguer, an American-born major leaguer, or a Dominican who does the same thing?
Boy, in the recent drafts, there have been players drafted as two-way players. That's their designation.
Right.
The Cardinals in 2020 drafted a young man named Mason Wynn who can throw 98 to 100 and play shortstop, and made obviously a lot of headlines when he threw 100 from shortstop in the Futures game. He was drafted as a two-way player, but he's in the majors now, and they're counting on him to be the shortstop. And he talks pretty candidly about just like how it was too much to try to think of doing both. He had to improve as a hitter to advance as a shortstop. And so, the argument would be that like it would take somebody who is gifted enough at all of those things that they don't have to like pull aside and say, all right, well, I got to get this part of my game up to that level. I'm not sure, Rob, that
or as totally laser focused as an Otani.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of laser focus in the game for some of these great ones. And as Rob says, he's just Otani's a DH, so he didn't have the added position thing. There's a Cardinal who throws really hard, who's a DH, who, you do that. I increasingly wonder if our structure of college baseball and minor league baseball is flexible enough for somebody like that to emerge. Otani was already great at both of these things when he got to the majors. Do we have a structure that allows for someone to become great? That's a different thing. To become great at these things while on their way up. I do think that I think the game or certain teams are open to it. We already see it in a few guys. Lorenzen, for example, has done it in the majors, but not on an everyday basis. So I think that
McKay down in Tampa Bay.
Right. Yeah, McKay, less successful. But I think
don't forget Brooks Kieschnick, near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, Brooks, I saw quite a bit. Yeah. I think it's open to it. I just don't know if we have the structure in place to tease that out, to tease that excellence out. Maybe if starters go less innings, it makes that more possible. because you're relying less on them as pitchers and they can just go one time through, two times through, and then be a hitter. That certainly would open it up for more possibility. It's just such a rarity. I don't want to close the door, Rob, to it being possible, but I think, the awareness and drafting the players is one thing, but creating now an infrastructure that allows for somebody to thrive like that at different levels is got to be the next step before it happens.
Maybe if an American player wants to do that, he should go play in Japan first.
Yeah, but then they're like the money, right? The money's just not going to be there to drive that.
Yep.
The incentive isn't there.
Right.
Well, so here, because we got to get Mark into the conversation. I like hearing from Mark too, and B, I did actually come up with a couple of baseball/comics questions. So, and you can all think about them, or the comics people can think about the baseball type questions, and the baseball type people can talk about the comics type questions. My first question is, among baseball players, present, past, whatever, and it's a dual question, who do you think could have a great comic made out of them? Either a nonfiction comic, or Craig Calcaterra in his daily email has been writing a fake old movie story for a couple of years now every time Dane Dunning pitches, just because it sounds like an old movie star name. So you can just have it be, okay, this sounds like it would be a character in this type of comic or whatever. The flip side of that question is, what comic characters could you imagine being good ball players, and where would they play? And then I've got trivia from Chris and Cooper, who unless this Comics Otters pilot is Chris hiding out, aren't going to be joining us this year because Chris had a meeting to take. But they were kind enough to text trivia, and it's some pretty good trivia. I like it.
I have long believed that Thor would be a third baseman.
Why third base?
Well, because I'll try to keep it brief, but because third base is the most underrated position, because you have to both hit beyond, you have to hit like a corner player and also play defense like a shortstop. And it was kept out of the Hall of Fame for a long time. And it seemed like, Thor was always part of the Avengers, but kind of kept out of that kind of star group. But he also hit like thunder, throws like lightning, so he can play the position. He can hit, in the middle of an order.
Okay, I like it.
I don't know, man. I have to say, I think he's built more like a first baseman. He's like Boog Powell. He's a big guy.
Yeah, but I think
there have been some
diminishing
big,
his defense.
Pablo Sandoval was built like that and was a surprisingly good defensive third baseman. It's not impossible.
I mean, Scott Rowland is built like that. I mean,
there you go.
He's a power forward playing third. And, I've long, and I mean, when I say long, I mean, like probably since I was 5 years old, thought, man, Thor is the third baseman on any team that I'm putting together of superheroes. As quickly as everybody wants to put Spider-Man in center field and name center fielders Spider-Man, Thor is my third baseman.
I can go with that. There was I don't know if you remember, there was a great magazine back in the 70s and early 80s, football magazine called Pro.
Okay.
Sure.
Exceptional magazine, great photos. They did an article.
Photos.
What's that?
Great photos. They're like incredible photos.
Incredible photos. And they did an article they equated Marvel superheroes with the then superstars of the NFL. So you had a drawing of the Hulk, and they had like a photograph of Dick Butkus, and they had John Buscema do a drawing of the Hulk in the exact same pose. A really cool article.
Who would you pick, Mark?
I don't know, but I want to go back to Ohtani for half a second.
Sure.
I took a Post-it while we were talking. I put it on the wall. It says Milli Vanilli. And you guys are going to know what that means.
Okay.
A year and a half from now, he's going to be the new Bo Jackson. Remember when we were losing our shit over Bo Jackson?
Okay.
was the last time you thought of poor Bo?
I mean, I think about him
not that
every
long
day.
ago.
Well, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Of course.
I think about him pretty regularly, actually.
Yeah.
All right, I'll change it. Dizzy Dean. Remember, Dizzy Dean was the greatest player in baseball history.
I also think about Dizzy Dean pretty
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably not the right audience for that example. I got Dizzy Dean's
Yeah.
book here.
Not this crowd.
I got
I
a
mean,
Dizzy
frankly,
Dean action
Mark,
figure.
if Ohtani had only had his MVP season from 2 years ago, I'd still think about him for the rest of my life.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. We all have those players in our youth who we thought were going to be the greatest. Hey, I was a big Bobby Mercer fan. He was the next Mickey Mantle.
Mark Pryor. I get it.
Right. Who
Carry
was the guy? Who was the guy on the Braves in the late 70s, early 80s?
Bob Horner.
Bob Horner. Remember, he was
he went to Japan to play. He was the first one that went to Japan.
No
Well,
kidding.
he wasn't nearly the first.
Well, the first really big name player where they like, I was just reading about him, and you got to have Wah, where they like lured him over to Japan with the money.
Uh-huh.
That makes sense. He might have been the first big dollar guy. I mean, Don Newcombe was a big star in America, but then he was on the downslope when he went in the late 50s.
No,
I'm sorry. Who was that? Who was
Don
that?
Newcombe.
Don
Newcombe played
the
in Japan.
Dodgers.
Yep.
I didn't know he played in Japan.
Yep.
Yeah,
I have his autograph on a ball right over there.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. I was just reading about Don Newcombe in the Effa Manley issue of the Kanklitz Chronicle.
Where do I get one of those? That looks amazing.
You get it. I'll send you a link. And she wasn't able to join us, but maybe next year. The artist is Ellen Lindner. And I think I started just by going through her website, and then it took me to her Etsy store. But
One thing, my LCS does not have any interest in baseball, so
Yeah,
I don't.
no.
I never know when anything comes out. I'm completely out of the loop on baseball comic books.
No. So the two books I have here are Kanklitz Chronicles issues 1 and 2, a zine about gender, baseball, and social change, and then I have Lost Diamonds, a history of gender rebellion in American baseball.
Yeah, Ellen has been writing about the history of women in baseball, which is a pretty substantial history. There's a lot of fascinating characters and byways and like incidents and all sorts of cool things. So it's absolutely, I think, more than, well, probably any sport, but I mean basketball has obviously. I think we did.
Hopefully he comes back.
But yeah, Ellen Lindner has been doing her Kanklitz Chronicles for a while, and it's some good read, actually. Really nice history and good fun stuff. Well, while we wait for Mark to come back.
Well, I mean, we can keep going, and hopefully he gets back.
So, there's a lot of baseball manga, obviously.
Yeah.
So, as far as characters, baseball players who would make great comics, well, again, I'm a big Max Scherzer fan. He's just such a insane character. I don't think he can be the star of it, but he would definitely be the wacky neighbor. If there was ever anyone to be the wacky neighbor, it is Max Scherzer. In that way, but I think relief pitchers should have their own comic books. At least the classic relievers.
Well, certainly Cubs relief pitchers, because we get a dance page every time a home run was hit.
Right, but certainly the great relievers of the 60s, 50s, and 70s into the 80s, when they were just such
Tug McGraw was
quote
from time to time.
Sausage. I mean, the list goes on and on. They were
so many of them
characters.
are curmudgeons now, though.
Yeah, well, it's not. It takes a real character to do that. You have to really be someone with a real, the character to deal with that pressure and to thrive on the pressure. I mean, it's like Diaz, which is another Edwin Diaz, which is another, nail in the coffin of the Mets season, which is when he went down in the World Baseball Classic, jumping up and down to celebrate Puerto Rico beating the Dominican Republic. And just how does this happen? I mean, I thought players are taught how to safely celebrate, which does not involve jumping up and down. As far as baseball players or comic book characters would be good baseball players, I'll have to pass on that one for now. I can't I can't think of that, but certainly there the potential for baseball players
Comics
to make
is
great comics characters is
Oh, God.
endless.
One player who hits on the Otani kind of, and maybe is an example from Rob's question that would make a great comic, and you could either fictionalize it or nonfiction. It certainly has enough drama in it. Is Rick Ankiel?
Oh yeah.
With
yeah.
with what he had to fight as a pitcher and how talented he was, how young he was, and then how he reinvented himself as a hitter. And before Otani was doing the same things and doing the things in one game that Babe Ruth did, it was Rick Ankiel who was doing the things that Babe Ruth had done as far as pitching early in his career and then hitting home runs late in his career. There's like I said, there's either a fictionalized legend to be told of Rick Ankiel, with some of the demons that he had to go up against too, to get
I like
back
a good
into the game.
nonfiction comic too.
And so you could do the nonfiction story as well, which is just as compelling.
Well, and the great thing about that is you already have the source material because he wrote a book.
Yeah, he and Tim
3 or
Brown.
4 years ago.
Yeah,
Yep.
he and Tim Brown wrote a
Yep.
book, and it's a great book. I wasn't jealous at all that Tim got to write that book. No, not at all. No, not at all. Not.
You're too busy, Derek.
Not at all. No. I think you carve out time to write that book, right?
Yep.
Well, no, I'm not sure I would have been permitted. You're right. That's a good point. I'll cling to that. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for coming through for me.
My pick is, well, first of all, I've thought for a long time that there could be a great graphic novel about Babe Ruth because his career and he himself were both so visual. There are so many moments, and he was so photogenic. You can look at some pictures of him and go, "Oh, that would look great on a page, painted." I'm surprised nobody's done a really good one of him. There's a great Clemente graphic novel that I have, and I'm sure there are a few others, but I've never seen a Ruth. And Satchel Paige would also be a fantastic subject because, again, he's so visually compelling, and he had so many different experiences in so many different places in America and the world that the possibilities for the visual, because I always think about the visuals. I love George Brett, but he just was a baseball player. He played in a bunch of American baseball stadiums, and he was just a hitter and a good third. But a guy like Satchel Paige, who traveled everywhere.
His home stadium wasn't that interesting.
Sure.
George Brett had hemorrhoids.
That's good. You can show that'd be a good visual. One whole splash page. But I'm surprised nobody's done a Page or a Ruth graphic novel yet.
Actually, there is
a Satchel Paige one. Yeah,
really?
Satchel Paige strikes out Jim Crow from James Sturm, who also did the
Gollum's Mighty Swing.
I have the Gollum's Mighty Swing. See, I told you I'm behind the curve on these things.
Yeah, his first. I think Satchel Paige was the first one.
I think Gollum's came first.
Okay,
but I'm not certain.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go find it. Thank you.
I'm trying to remember who did Satchel Paige. Strikes Out Jim Crow was James Stern and
Rich Tommaso.
Yes.
All right. Well, if there's a Babe Ruth
Tommaso
one, I'm really going to look like an idiot.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. Though there was a pretty good Ruth audio comedy recently from, I don't know how much it was based on reality other than the fact that he spent the 1 year in the minors and he had a lot to what wasn't known as like having been a smart kid, and they play with that.
Rob, for the 250th anniversary of St. Louis, they did a graphic novel. The local group of comics here called Ink and Drink Comics, they did a graphic novel, and I got to write a 8-page story for it. And
I want a copy of this, Derek.
A Babe Ruth signed baseball plays a big part in it. That doesn't necessarily count, but I came close.
Nice.
Screwball is the story that I was thinking of. Simon Rich, who was an SNL writer, wrote like I want to say it's like a 48-minute audio story on Audible. Beck Bennett does,
Huh.
or Beck Bennett and Scott Aiello do the narrating.
All right, I'm looking it up right now on Audible. Thank you.
Yeah. And again, I don't know for certain how dead on it is with the baseball stuff, but it's funny as hell.
I found it.
Yep. So,
Oh, it's even free. Wow, great.
yeah, because it's an Audible
I'm
original.
in.
So if you've got your
There it
you
is.
have a subscription,
I do.
it's a
I'm
freebie
in.
and it's a short one.
Great. Thanks.
Ask me when we're off air, and I might tell you something about it that I can't say on air.
Okay.
Let's do some trivia because because Cooper and Chris were kind enough to send us questions. What do we want first? Do we want baseball or comics? I got 3 questions from each.
I'm gonna fail at both. So
I actually kind of think that at least between everybody we've got here, we're gonna get all the baseball questions this year. I'm gonna guess that we get 1 out of 3 of the comics questions. So that's my bet right now. So what should we Rob's got to run soon, so we're just gonna roll. We'll go in order because I got the baseball questions first. What combination of brothers have the most major league home runs, and how many does each brother have?
Oh,
this is actually a question I asked Cooper the first time I met him. It's one of my favorite baseball trivia tidbits.
I'm going to go the Aaron brothers 763.
765, but good guess. 755 for Hank and 10 for Tommy.
Wow. That's a good one.
All right. The next question is why is Honus Wagner's T2106 so ridiculously valuable?
Well,
I
I
think
know
we're
that.
going with the
You guys know this
traditional
one.
answer to this question rather than.
I believe it was the T206.
Yes,
and,
T206.
And well, it was a tobacco card, and he didn't want to be seen endorsing tobacco, so they had to withdraw it, and it was very rare because of that.
That is definitely the traditional answer, and the answer Cooper gave us. I've heard more recently that he was upset that he didn't get paid for it. So either one.
Right.
Could be either one. All right. Heidi, I'm going to be upset if you don't get this one. What were the Yankees before they were the Yankees?
The Highlanders.
Ah, Derek beat you to it.
I was riffling through my brain. So good one, Derek. Yes.
No, that's the name of my all-star baseball team and fantasy baseball teams and all of it going back forever. I always called them the Highlanders for that reason. Do you know how they changed to the Yankees?
I don't.
Highlanders didn't fit in the newspaper with.
I like that.
So they went with the nickname Yankees.
Okay, this is my favorite of the comic questions that Chris came up, and I promised Chris I would plug his stuff, so he has Thanos and Star Trek Defiant in shelves monthly right now, and the Star Trek Defiant first hardcover collection comes out tomorrow, probably today by the time this is posted. And anybody who hasn't read Blue Flame or She Could Fly should definitely go back and read Blue Flame or She Could Fly, or go buy Halt and Catch Fire on Amazon Prime, because it was a fantastic series. There, Chris, I've plugged your stuff. You're listening to this with Cooper. So Captain Marvel Jr. alter ego shares a name with a famous first baseman who was born nearly 48 years later. What is Captain Marvel Jr.'s Alter ego.
I literally just read one of those stories a couple of months ago, and I've already forgotten his name, so no clue.
Freddie Freeman.
Of course.
How could I miss that?
Freddie Freeman.
Unfortunately, I'll never forget it now. Freddie freaking Freeman.
Wow. That's a great
Freddie
question.
Freeman. All right. What magazine currently still in publication can trace itself as the last remaining title that was created by EC Comics?
Is that Mad Magazine?
It is Mad Magazine. And this is where I would plug the upcoming book version of the fantastic play Innocence of Seduction.
Oh,
My friend Mark Prott, which was about the Bill Gaines and Frederick Wortham and the whole comic scare in the 50s. Anybody in Chicago. Next fall will be the third of his 4-color trilogy, House of Ideas, about Stan and Jack. So he did Bob Kane and Bill Finger. That's Mark of Cain, available in print now. Soon will be Innocence of Seduction in print. And anybody who wants to put these plays on other places, he would be more than happy to take your money so your community theater or whatever could put them on. You know, guys got to eat, right? And our final question from on the comic side, and of course, because he's writing Thanos, he had to have a Thanos question. Thanos first appeared in Iron Man number 55. What other Marvel character also had their first appearance in that issue? It's probably my favorite member of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the movie versions.
Gamora.
Was it Groot?
I like Gamora a lot. I love Groot. But Drax.
Drax.
The
Oh, that's
Destroyer.
shit.
It could not go over my head. I am too fast.
Drax debuted in that issue?
Yeah, well, because Drax's original purpose was to chase.
That's right.
No, Thanos. They just got a copy of that at the comic shop here, and I should have known that. But on the front it says first appearance of Thanos. It does not play up the Drax element.
Well, thank you so much for doing the second annual Baseball and Comics Roundtable on 22 panels. I fully intend to have them every year because I keep coming across more people who love baseball and comics. Rob and Derek, you're going to have to find more people in baseball for me because I don't get to spend time around people in baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We're happy to just have you every year. But if we get to know a few more people in baseball who like comics, then it won't have to be, come on, Rob. Come on, Derek. What night are you free?
I don't know. Like that sign implies that we're looking for our replacements.
Right. This is all I have left. Why would I go out looking for someone else?
This is my chance to talk to Rob each year. I'm sure I'm going to keep that going.
So let me take us out, and then I'll talk to you for a couple minutes before we let everybody go, because everybody's got to go. So for 22 panels, for Derek Gold, for Heidi McDonald, for Rob Nyer, for Mark Chiarello, whose internet fell out, and he says goodbye to everybody, and he's sorry. This has been the 22 panel. Oh, and for Comics Otter Pilot, who still hasn't turned their mute off, so I don't know if it's Cantwell or somebody else. This has been 22 panels. We'll see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22panelspodcast.